This NFL Week 17 injury news and updates and player prop targets edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up our promo code MACHINE to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Also brought to you by Leader Data-Driven Picks and Props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Wilson, good as he throws deep downfield. It's going to be caught by Metcalf with a touchdown.
Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. NFL Week 17 kicks off on Christmas Day, featuring two games and Thursday Night Football, of course, and that'll get us into the weekend here. But you guys know how we do it here on this episode, your weekly update of all the injuries that have transpired over the past week or so. We'll get into each and every game with injury implications. But joining me here, of course, he is the expert on the show. He is the superstar of the show. It's the man himself, the DGen Doc, Sebastian Fearon. Sebastian, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. I like how you throw around that term expert loosely. It's a nice term, but hey, man, holiday season. Hope everyone's amped up. Hope everyone has already got a nice drink in their hands. Get ready for some fun Christmas festivities, whatever holiday you celebrate. So happy to be getting this in here and still making sure that people know how to make some money this week.
Yeah, 100%. We definitely wanted to get this out, of course, before the Christmas Day games do kick off. So some great information, as we always have here on the Propcast episode, of all the injury news and updates that are going to be happening this weekend. Sebastian, let's not waste any time, my man. Let's get into it. Christmas Day features two games. We'll start with the 1 o'clock game. That will be the Kansas City Chiefs. They are in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Steelers catching 3 points in this game, with a total of 44 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for injuries in the Chiefs and Steelers matchup?
Yeah, obviously these first couple games are going to have a little bit more, right? These injury reports already out. So pretty cut and dry for a couple of these. Left tackle DJ Humphries is going to be out. Defensive back Shamari Connor is going to be out for the Chiefs. The guys who are questionable, Juwan Taylor, their right tackle, he's a bit more optimistic on him. 3 limited practices with that knee injury. I do expect him to go. The guy that's got a real question mark is Chris Jones, defensive tackle, best player for them. He picked up a calf injury just 4 days ago on Saturday. No practice early in the week. Now listed as a limited practice today and questionable, but they didn't practice today. It was really just kind of like an estimation. So don't really know exactly how much he's done. Now, mild calf injuries, recovery timeline is about 1 to 3 weeks. It's not impossible that he plays. I just think it would be a bit foolish to have him pay 4 days later. Obviously, they're squarely in the playoffs. They have another championship on their mind. These injuries, these soft tissue injuries, these calf strains in particular, are nagging injuries. They can linger if you try to come back too soon. So I think, even Chris Jones feels like he could play. I think this Kansas City coaching staff is a veteran coaching staff. I think they ultimately do sit him out this game. And, we'll see if they need to play him next week to lock up that number 1 seed. So I would say he's closer to doubtful, but we'll see. I was surprised they listed him as questionable. Over on the Steelers side, Ben Skoranek, kind of a fill-in wide receivers out, but the bigger one here is cornerback Joey Porter Jr. He is their number one corner. I don't know if we can call him lockdown because he's been a little bit this year. Gets a bit handsy, but he's got a knee injury. He's out. He's likely done for the regular season. They're expecting him back for the playoffs, though. So not done for the season, but just these next couple games, which is big. However, they do get a lot of people back. So George Pickens is the biggest one. He kind of helps to unlock that offense, whether it's yards, points. They really kind of take a step up when he's in there. You got Larry Okunjobi, defensive tackle. He's back. Dante Jackson, who's fully practicing, but he's played the last 2 games and left the last 2 games with his back injury. So clearly, it's not like he's 100% healed. So we'll see how much we get there, especially with Porter out, getting a little dicey. And then just safety Deshaun Elliott, who really helps them in the run game. He's a really big enforcer there. He allows Minka to play middle of the field. Minka's probably going to be matched up on Travis Kelce. So that's your injury situation. For some props that I'm targeting, a couple guys I like, Noah Gray. His number is only at 14.5, and his reception numbers at 1.5. He's hit that number in 6 out of the last 7 games. The Steelers are notorious for being bad against the tight end, and they're going to game plan for Travis Kelce. They're not going to game plan for Noah Gray, who is the 3rd leading receiver for the Chiefs. I also like Hollywood Brown. Came back, got 8 targets in his first game, 45 yards. No Jory Porter there. I have his 50+ at plus 135. His number is closer to a little bit, I think 42.5 is what his number. And then the guy I like for the Steelers, I like Calvin Austin. I think that the Chiefs, they do have a good secondary, but still no Jalen Watson, no Chamari Connor. Going to have to be shuffling around. I think, they're going to be focused on George Pickens, as they should be. We saw Tank Dell in that slot role have one of his best games of the season. I think Calvin Austin over 24.5 yards. I think that's 1 or 2 catches for him. So those are the 3 guys I'm targeting in this game. Curious where you're at with it.
Yeah, you mentioned tight ends. Chiefs have struggled this season against the tight end position as well. So I'm looking at Mr. Pat Freiermuth in this game. His numbers around 28.5 consensus right now. Chiefs allowing 72.6 receiving yards to that tight end position. If you just kind of go back through the last couple of game logs, frankly, throughout the season, every single tight end, at least either individually or as a collective group, has gotten up and over this number of 28.5 receiving yards. Just the last couple of weeks, I'll give you an example here. We saw where Brock Bowers was really able to do. Stone Smart, I should say, 3 receptions, 54 yards. Even Jordan Akins, 3 receptions, 30 yards. And last week, Dalton Schultz, 5 for 45 at the tight end position against the Chiefs. So I do like Pat Freiermuth, like him to find the end zone here as well. You mentioned George Pickens being back. Obviously, the downfield game for the Steelers should unlock in this game. And I think you'll see a lot more passing from Russell Wilson because the Chiefs have been one of the better rush defenses this season. You mentioned Calvin Austin. I would look at his longest reception also to go over as well. Who knows? He could probably get all that done in 1 catch, honestly, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I do like that. Was considering Russell Wilson over on his attempts, but that's always a dicey situation there, especially with Russell Wilson, sometimes holding on to the ball too long there. So those are the couple ones that I was looking at in this game here for the Steelers and the Chiefs game.
Yeah. No, I think both these passing offense going to have a little bit more success.
Yeah, 100% do agree with that. Hopefully, I think we do end up seeing points in this game for sure, especially with all the injuries, like you mentioned, to the Steelers and their secondary. Second game on Christmas Day, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. They are visiting the Houston Texans. Texans are catching 5.5 points in this game here, Sebastian, with a total of 46.5. What are we looking at for Ravens and Texans?
Yeah, another game that's fairly straightforward. You got some guys out for this Baltimore offense. Justice Hill, that changed the pace back out of the backfield. Nelson Aguilar, kind of that wide receiver 3 for them. Both those guys out with the concussion, so hopefully they can get back next week. And then backup cornerback Jalen Armour-Davis with the hamstring. The guy questionable for them is Zay Flowers, obviously their number 1 wide receiver. Now, there is optimism he's going to play. I do expect him to play. Harbaugh said in the beginning of the week he expects him to play. Two no practices to start, and then a limited practice. Again, how did they actually practice? It's tough to tell. But so I would say he's trending in the right direction. I'd call him more probable. For the Texans, a little bit more beat up there. Obviously, the big one is wide receiver Tank Dell. Multi-ligament knee injury is going to be, it's going to be a long road ahead for him. You definitely just want to kind of prayers out to the young man. He's dealt with a lot in the past year and a half. Yeah. So just hopefully everything's good there. But he's obviously done for the season. And then Jimmy Ward, another one for them, foot injury. He's on the IR. That one's going to sting a little bit. He's been a really good player for them, especially making tackles. And then defensive tackle Foley Fadakasu is out with an ankle. 2 offensive linemen, Shaq Mason and Deuce Scruggs, are going to be out as well. John Mechie should be out there. He's off the injury report. And they did claim Deontay Johnson from the Ravens, but they just picked him up Monday, so I don't expect much of anything there. For this one, I will say I don't know how you feel about it. I do think the Texans are going to hang around a little bit better. I think 5.5 is a little bit disrespectful. But I think CJ Stroud in the air, 250 plus passing yards at plus 100. The Ravens give up 255 yards a game just on average. And I also like Nico Collins with that. I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. I think that we saw what these two did without Tank Dell and no Stephon Diggs last season. So I think that they have a great matchup here to take advantage. I also like both these quarterbacks to rush a little bit. CJ Stroud, he over to 11.5. He's hit this in 3 out of his last 5. The Ravens pass rush, they have 47 sacks on the season. The Houston Texans have given up 46 sacks. So I think there's going to be some pressure situations where he frankly has to run. I also like Lamar to get a little bit loose here at 50-plus rushing yards. He's hit this in 2 of the last 3. Only didn't hit it against Pittsburgh, and that's what Pittsburgh does. They've given up less than 50 yards to the quarterback on the rushing game. We talked about Lamar's under last week, so I take that a lot. It's not saying Lamar didn't get it done. It's just what the Steelers do. And then I do like Baltimore sacks, whether it's Van Noy or Owe, I just think that is where the edge is for the Baltimore defense, is their defensive line versus the Texans' offensive line.
Yeah, another team here that does struggle against the tight end position, the Ravens, not allowing as many yards through the air to the tight end position like the Chiefs, but they are still giving up close to 59 receiving yards per game to the tight end position. Going back to Dalton Schultz last week against the Chiefs, like we mentioned, he had 45 receiving yards. No reason for him not to, especially with the injuries that we are dealing with here, without Tank Dell and obviously Stephon Diggs, for him not to contribute or be a part of the passing offense here for the Texans. His number is around 34.5. It's up to 36.5, 38.5. So seems like money is coming in on the over here for Dalton Schultz. Agree about CJ Stroud. If you like the passing yards to go over, I think his attempts are going to go over in this game as well. That's at 33.5. It feels like the number is spot on, but you kind of take a look at the last couple of weeks here that the Ravens have allowed, or I should say opposing quarterbacks against the Ravens have been throwing for 34 or more attempts. 56 for Joe Burrow, 36 for Russell Wilson, 36 for Justin Herbert. I think that was a combination of Tim Boyle and Tommy DeVito had 37. And then last week, right on the number was Russell Wilson at 33. So it's going to have to be on the shoulders here of CJ Stroud. The running game or the rush defense for the Ravens has been really good this season as well. I do like Derrick Henry in this game. If you want to look at his longest rush to go over, he's absolutely owned the Texans. Very familiar territory with him. Obviously playing twice a year when he was with the Tennessee Titans. But if you just go back and look at his numbers, he had 4 straight games against the Texans where he had 200 or more rushing yards against this team. So I think that he'll be ready to go, especially with all the injuries that you mentioned there, Sebastian, on the wide receiving group there, and without Justice Hill there as well. So a couple of the ones I like there for the Ravens side of things. Yeah. All right, let's get over to Thursday night football here, Sebastian. The Seattle Seahawks, they are going to be visiting the Chicago Bears. Bears are catching 3.5 points in this game with a total of 43.5. What do you got for this game?
Yeah, for the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker is the big one. Still waiting on some updates here, running tests, things like that. Their practice report isn't out yet. So we'll get a little bit more of a clear picture. You'd probably release theirs closer to 8 o'clock. Typically is when I typically see it roll in. So we'll have to kind of see there. Just wanted to know, Kenneth Walker's a little bit banged up. Obviously Geno played last week. He was fine with the knee. What we do know is that Chicago's very bad offensive line is likely going to be missing 2 players. Braxton Jones, their tackle there, is on the IR, and arguably their best offensive lineman, their guard, Tevin Jenkins, is dealing with a calf injury, has not practiced yet this week. They also have safety Elijah Hicks is not practicing. So yeah, I mean, for me, this one, it's a little bit simple. It's Seattle sacks. Caleb Williams takes a bunch of them. The Chicago offensive line is beat up. I think Seattle's going to be ahead in this game, and I think they're going to have to throw the ball. And I think that spells trouble for Caleb Williams. So I will be looking at the sack market for Seattle on this one.
Yeah, Caleb Williams passing or rushing, or passing and rushing to go over this game is something I do like. Just take a look at his splits from home and road. It's a very glaring difference. 225 passing yards per game at home this season, only 209.4 at home. Then again, if he's going to be without those offensive linemen, I would expect him to run the football a little bit more, and like he has been over the past several games there. So I think I do like that, especially again if we think that they are going to be trailing in this game, which they more than likely will be. They will have to be throwing the football in this game here. Caleb Williams last week, 334 yards against the Detroit Lions, 340 at home against the Vikings. Again, teams that have really good rush defenses, especially the Minnesota Vikings, that just force you to throw the football. So I do like that for Caleb Williams in this game. All right, Sebastian, before we keep it rolling here, my man, let me remind everybody about our good old friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menu in sports, and you can win up to 1000x with underdog streaks. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems, NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NASCAR, NBA, and more. And you can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Sign up with promo code MACHINE to get to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code MACHINE. All right, we do have a game on Saturday here. That will be between the LA Chargers. They are going to be visiting the New England Patriots in this game. Patriots catching 4 points at home with a total of 42.5 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for Chargers Patriots?
Yeah, NFL is taking care of us this week. I think we got 3 games on Saturday, if I'm not.
3 games, yeah.
Right, yeah. So no college football, so yeah, they're really taking advantage. But look, Chargers clinch the playoff spot if they win this game. So this is big for them. We'll see. Patriots don't have shit to play for. But for the Chargers, the running back, J.K. Dobbins, expected back this week, limited practice today. The expectation was, even last week, hey, he's on track, that 4 weeks, and he's going to be good to go. So we'll see. Limited practice. This is kind of like their Wednesday practice. This is the first practice of the week, so limited practice is a good sign. So optimism for him. Optimism for tight end Will Dissly as well. It's his first practice back since the injury a couple weeks ago, so he had a limited practice. Now, Denzel Perryman, he came into last week with a groin injury. He left with a re-injury to his groin, did not practice. I would be pessimistic on him. I expect Perryman to probably be out this week and next week. So Dissly and Dobbins, optimism. Perryman, not so much. I don't have anything for the New England side. We'll see as their injury report drops the rest of this week.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on Saturday will be the Denver Broncos. They are visiting the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. Bengals laying 3.5 points in this game with a total of 49.5. Bengals got to have this game if they want any chance of making the playoffs here. They need some help along the way here, Sebastian. But what are we looking at for Broncos-Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, this is a de facto playoff game as well,
yep.
Right? Both teams desperately need to win. And for the biggest injury, in my opinion, is quarterback number 2, Riley Moss, is fully practicing. He is going to be back this week, assuming no setbacks. Also, their probably best running back, most explosive running back, Jaleel McLaughlin, with the quad injury, does have a limited practice, so he's back in practice. So good signs for Denver. And some good signs for Cincinnati as well. Left tackle Orlando Brown has been out for several weeks with a fibula injury. It's his first practice back. He had a limited practice today, so a good sign. We'll see how his kind of leg deals with the having been back at practice. So, but a bit optimism there. And then T. Higgins was banged up last game, but seems to be minor. He's back practicing in a limited capacity. Guys, I do not expect to be out there. Definitely Sam Hubbard, still no practice with that knee injury. He's likely done for the season. I think they're just waiting because they want to somehow make the playoffs, and they don't, they want to rule out like a Super Bowl return or something like that. But Sheldon Rankins, man, he's not practiced for about a month with an illness. Hopefully everything's okay there, but he's still not practicing. I mean, obviously, if he feels better, I'm sure he could play, but he's been out for a long time. So I would assume he's going to need some time to ramp up, even if he does kind of feel better. So we'll see there. But yeah, both these teams should be fairly healthy. This should be a good matchup. I really think Riley Moss makes a huge difference to this Denver defense. I like Denver in this side. I'm going to be looking to probably some Joe Burrow sacks and some unders on some of these guys here on the Cincinnati offense. We'll see where the number lands, but this is an explosive offense. I get it, but I really like this Denver defense when Riley Moss is in the lineup.
All right, last game on Saturday, big NFC West matchup here, at least for the Rams side of things. They're going to be hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Rams laying 6.5 points in this game with a total of 47.5 here. Sebastian, Cardinals looking to play a little bit of a spoiler here, but what do we got for Cardinals Rams?
Yeah, they are, but I don't know how much of a fight they're going to put up, particularly because their 2 starting tackles are on the IR. Paris Johnson and Jonah Williams, both are on the IR. This is an offensive line that's been beat up this season and really bad when they're beat up. So they were finally getting healthy, but still not performing very well. And now their 2 starting tackles are out on the IR. So that's a big deal. James Conner picked up a minor knee injury. He's definitely pushing to play. We'll see. I mean, again, they're eliminated from the playoffs. So what are they playing for exactly? Maybe let the rookie Trey Benson just roll out there and see what you got in him. Nothing on the Rams side just yet. Again, West Coast team, their injury report's going to come in a little bit later. But no major injuries that I'm tracking right now for the Rams. Obviously, the Rams control their own destiny. Excuse me. They win this game, they win next week. I think I think they got to win the next two to lock up the NFC West. So this is a big game for them. I like the Rams defensive line, Jared Verse, Byron Young to get after Kyler Murray here. Again, he's without the tackles. We'll see James Conner, as tough of a runner he is. It's an opportunity. If it's Benson or Connor, this Rams rush defense is not very good. Hasn't been very good all year. So, if Connor is out, I think Benson's a guy you could look at, or, I don't know if you want to go the DeMarcado route, but there will be rush yards available depending on who's back there.
All right, let's get over to the Sunday slate here. We'll kick it off here with the New York Jets. They are taking on the Bills this week. Bills laying 9.5 points in this game. With a total of 47 here, Sebastian. What are we looking at for Jets and Bills?
Yeah, just some minor notes here. The Grinch of New York, Aaron Rodgers himself, he is blaming another injury on his poor performance. Mild MCL sprain. He says he will play. This is possible. Mild MCL sprains are not too big of a deal, about 1 to 2 weeks full recovery. So I do expect him to be out there. I would say some limited mobility, but that's been happening since week 1. So, I don't know how much of a change that is. But their rookie tackle, Fashanu, is on the IR with the plantar fasciitis. Bad way to end the season for the rookie. So, unfortunate for him. So, they'll have to figure some things out at the offensive tackle spot. But, Aaron Rodgers already not mobile, dealing with some offensive line injuries. This could get ugly. Look, that offense has looked better with Devontae Adams, and they've been figuring some things out. And the Bills' defense has been giving up a lot of points. I think this might be an opportunity for the Bills to have a get-right spot here at home. They really were sleepwalking last week, and it almost came to bite them. But I think they understand, look, we've got to, just get ready for the playoffs here, lock it down a little bit, and I think they do.
And I feel like this could be a Breece Hall game. He's actually had some good success against the Buffalo Bills in his career. 2 games in 3 career games, 2 games where he had 110 or more rushing yards against them. And then also out of the backfield, this has been one of the angles I've been betting on. Receiving yards against the Buffalo Bills throughout the season has been a very profitable angle. Breece Hall, 3 career games against the Bills. Receiving yards wise, 20, 50, and 56 earlier this season. He had 113 rushing yards and then 56 yards through the air, 5 receptions on 6 targets in each of the last 2 head-to-head meetings against the Buffalo Bills there. So I do like that angle here for Breece Hall. Again, if that Aaron Rodgers is a little bit more compromised, where we see some dump downs or handoffs going to Breece Hall. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Colts, Giants. Giants catching 8 points here at home against the Colts with a total of 40.5 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for Colts and the New York Giants?
Oh, man, that team sucks so bad. I made such a stupid mistake last week by throwing some money on them because I thought rookie quarterback catching, getting 9 points, 9.5 points. That doesn't make sense. And, oh, my goodness, they're so bad. So I hope they all get cold for Christmas. But Drew Lock will be starting. He got an MRI on his throwing shoulder. I think he was like, yeah, I'm hurt. That's why I threw 2 pick sixes and look awful, but he's fine. He's going to start. Tyrone Tracy's one to watch. He did aggravate in a previous ankle injury. We saw him make a nice catch in the end zone and then not much from him for the rest of the game. So we'll see there. He is one of the few bright spots on that offense. So if he's not playing, obviously it'll be Devin Singletary. And yeah, Jonathan Taylor should just have a day. Bijan, Tyler Algier were able to run on the Giants. The Giants are decimated with injuries. They're a bad team. They can't contain the edges. I think Jonathan Taylor, we saw him have a 3-touchdown game last week. I don't know why there's no reason he can't do it again. Anthony Richardson running as well. I just think, the Colts need this game. They have to win out and to have any shot at the playoffs. And I think their best path is to not let Anthony Richardson throw the ball. So whether it's Richardson on the ground or Taylor on the ground, I'm going to be playing both of them. I just think they're going to have a field day. They're going to be up and they're going to just pound the rock.
96 or more rushing, or let's say 96 plus rushing yards in 3 straight games for Jonathan Taylor. At least 22 carries in 3 straight games, coming off a game against the Titans. 218 rushing yards, and like Sebastian mentioned, 3 tutties in that game for Jonathan Taylor. No reason why that can't continue in this game here against the New York Giants rush defense. We'll move it along here to the other NFC East teams. We got the Dallas Cowboys. They are in Philly to take on the Eagles. Eagles are laying 9 points in this game with a total of 41.5 here, Sebastian. Oh boy, what do we got for this one?
Yeah, I mean, Vegas clearly thinks Jalen Hurts playing. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is the big one here. He got knocked out of the game with a concussion, although he tried to give the thumbs up and say, "No, I'm good." Which, I mean, look, Jalen Hurts is a tough dude, but the amount of weight he squats or how tough he is physically has no relevance to a brain injury. So, I've talked about concussions before, mild traumatic brain injuries. They disrupt your ability to process things quickly, which is obviously a hazard on the football field. The NFL seems to have a sliding scale on when they decide like this concussion protocol. Beginning of the year, it's always strict. Nobody plays the week after. And then when you get to the end, it's kind of a crapshoot. And the bigger you are, the more likely you're going to play, which is not okay. I mean, it's not like that's not relevant scientifically, but the NFL is a league of entertainment. So, I mean, realistically, or from a straight medical aspect, he should be questionable. It should be about 50-50. If he practices on Thursday, he's got a really good chance to play. The way Vegas has this line, the way, the kind of sentiment around it is like everyone's expecting him to play because he's a tough dude. So I don't know. Take it for what it's worth there. I mean, I know I put some money on the Cowgirls just because it's not a guarantee he plays. And if it's Kenny Pickett against Cooper Rush, I have to give the edge to Cooper Rush. So we'll see. Again, I think, I don't want to be naive. Vegas is kind of telling us he's going to play, which I don't know how anyone would know at this point on even Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is. But Jalen Hurts concussion, watch practice report. I'll be tweeting about it, so we'll have to see there.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Next game we want to get to is going to be, let me get back to my odd screen. We'll go over to the Miami Dolphins. They are in Cleveland to take on the Browns. Browns catching 6.5 points in this game with a total of 40 here, Sebastian. What are we looking at for Dolphins and Browns?
Yeah, just a couple quick ones here. Dolphins are not going to activate outside linebacker, edge rusher, Bradley Chubb. He's done for the year. He had an ACL tear pretty late in the season last year. It looks like he just wasn't ready to go. They brought back Jalen Phillips a little bit early, and he tore his ACL off an Achilles tear. I'm sure that's very prevalent in their mind.
Yeah,
they are pretty much out of the play. Are they out of the playoffs?
I think they're pretty much. I mean, they would need a lot of help.
Yeah, they would need a lot of help. So there's just not. Obviously, he's not ready. There's not no reason to risk it. So done for the year there. Cleveland side, though, David Njoku was getting an MRI on his knee yesterday. I haven't heard anything yet. So one to watch, obviously, one of their kind of only few weapons they have. And then DTR picked up a calf injury. It sounds minor, but, I mean, hopefully for our viewing pleasure, they give us some Jameis Winston time back. The DTR experiment was disgusting. I'm still upset we did not get the opportunity to see him just shred the Bengals defense and make that a much more entertaining game than it was. But, hey, we talked about DTR rushing last week. We talked about Jerome Ford receiving and rushing receiving. Like, both those came home for us. So that was nice. But, yeah, DTR, if you could stay on the sidelines, we'd all appreciate it.
Jerome Ford, I think, got it done in the first. It was like first or second rush. I think he ran for like 60-some-odd yards, and that was already in the bag there. So that was a great call out there for Jerome Ford. All right, let's keep it moving here. Packers-Vikings, big one here. Vikings laying a point here at home with a total of 48.5 here, Sebastian. Anything for Packers-Vikings?
Yeah, just some quick notes. One, this should be a kick-ass game, but Christian Watson got banged up last night. It looks like it's only a knee bruise, like literally just a bruise to his leg, like contusion, if you want to call it. But he should, they're saying he could play. He should play at this point with having 6 days rest. Also, for the Minnesota side, linebacker Ivan Pace Jr., one of their better players on defense, he is back at practice, not quite activated off the IR this week, but, has a chance depending on how he develops. So we'll see if they bring Pace back. But these teams should be mostly healthy coming in. I know the Packers rested a bunch of guys in their secondary last night to make sure they're ready for this game. Jair Alexander, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, Quay Walker. So all those guys, I think have a decent chance to return this week. So we'll see. I think both these teams should be very healthy, which is what we want to see.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Again, Aaron Jones going up against his former team as well. So if you want to get down to some Aaron Jones props in this game of the week here between the Packers and the Vikings. Sunday Night Football features the Falcons. They are visiting the Washington Commanders. Commanders laying 4 points here at home with a total of 47.5 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for Falcons Commanders?
Yeah, just two big ones here. This is also a massive game. Both teams trying to win the division. You got Atlanta wide receiver Drake London, who left the game with a hamstring injury. Sounded minor. It sounded like he could have potentially came back in, but hamstring injuries are tough. It's not something I want to play with. It's high re-injury risk. He's only got, a week to recover. We'll see how he practices. I think because this game is so big, they're going to probably push for him to play, but I'd be a little bit nervous. Now, the benefit is that Marshon Lattimore also re-injured his hamstring. He went into the game coming off that hamstring injury, and looks like he picked up a bit of a re-injury, which a re-injury is always worse than the initial injury because you're taking damaged tissue and making it worse. So definitely pessimistic for Marshon Lattimore, a bit questionable for Drake London. I don't love either guy. It's not somebody I'd be putting money on in London's aspect. But we'll see, because now the matchup gets a little bit easier if Lattimore is not out there.
Yeah, maybe the Darnell Mooney game like it was last week for the Atlanta Falcons if Drake London is indeed out this week. We'll wrap it up here on Monday Night Football. The Detroit Lions, they are visiting the San Francisco 49ers. Niners catching 3 points in this game with a total of 50.5 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for Lions-Niners?
Yeah, Trent Williams is the big one. He's out for the season. He's not going to be able to play with his ankle injury. I just wanted to mention that. This offense is clearly not the same with and without him. Detroit has, they've got their fair share of injuries on the defensive side. No David Montgomery still. But yeah, just this San Francisco team now eliminated from the playoffs. I don't know exactly what they'll have to play for. So, but I did want to mention just the Trent Williams thing, because I think he's just such a big difference to the running game and the passing game. So we'll see there.
I do like Brock Purdy passing yards this week. If we do expect the Lions to be out in front as they have usually happen in most of their games, I think there would have to be a come from behind situation, or at least forcing the Niners to throw the football here, especially with how compromised the running back room is for the San Francisco 49ers here. So that one will be one on my list here for Monday Night Football. All right, before we wrap it up here, just want to quickly remind everybody about our good old friends over at mybookie.ag. We're brought to you by mybookie.ag, and believe it or not, mybookie.ag has been around on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website, great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even new early cash out options are available. Head to mybookie.ag, use our promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. And last but not least, we're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered back sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. Now you can track props in the Rhythm app, NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA, Rhythm. Honestly, they have it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, that's going to do it pretty much here for Week 17 injury news and notes. Nice and tidy here. Sebastian, anything else you want to mention, my man, before we get out of here?
No, just look, happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. Be safe. Enjoy the time with your family. And in the spirit of giving, if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe or download.
Yeah, 100% echoing everything Sebastian just mentioned there. Enjoy the time with your family and friends this holiday season. Merry Christmas to everyone that listens here on the Propcast, or whether it's all across the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Make sure you guys also subscribe to the DGen Docs with Sebastian's show over there. They get in-depth every single week on all the injury news, talking about fantasy, props, all that great stuff. Just great information over there with Sebastian. So make sure you guys follow them as well. All right, we'll be back next week for the final week of the NFL regular season before we do get into the playoffs. So definitely looking forward to it then. Make sure you guys follow Sebastian on Twitter. That's at the DGen Doc. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off. And always remember to let it right.